It's Monday on the Real Kyper at Noon show. What a weekend. 4 games Saturday, another Sunday, elimination weekend for some. And we tracked down Doug Maclean, who's touring mid-America in an RV. Mac, where are you now?
Well, we just left the Kentucky Horse Park and we're stopped at Campers World, which is one of those big RV sales places and shopping center. Jill needs a few things. So just so you get it, and you don't get it that easily, the longer I'm on this show, the more money she's going to spend. Because I'm sitting in the parking lot with the engine running. And Newman, she even had to take the dog in because he would have been squealing in here during the show. So Newman and Jill are in shopping. I'm in the RV doing the Real Kyper at Noon show.
All right, let me do the opening again, okay? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real Kyper at Noon for this special 3-hour edition of Real Kyper at Noon while Jill just rakes up the visa on Doug Maclean. How's that working for you?
Long as she's happy.
So you are in the Bluegrass State. Did you know that?
Yes, on our way to Cincinnati, and we're here 4 days at the Kentucky Horse Park, which is just an amazing equestrian center here, and it was a blast. I could bike over. We've got 2 bikes on the back of the RV, so I could bike over to the horse park and watch and back and forth. And we just had a ball there. Mackenzie was there for the week, and now we're heading to Cincinnati. 2 days in Cincinnati, then on to Columbus, see some friends, and then we're going to hit the East Coast, Connecticut, Bar Harbor, Kennebunkport, and sort of do it up on the East Coast. So we're exciting.
So what's the deal? Have you got a little bit of a setup going down in the RV now, or you still have to crash into a bar and explain to them what hockey is in Kentucky?
Got the TV set up. Man, I got a great system. And it's unbelievable. I'll just give you a show
a little tour of the RV.
So there's the hallway there. Can you see that?
Yes, it looks awesome.
We got the twin beds they could be made into obviously a king size bed. So here's the kitchen area. That's the beer fridge. Can you see the beer fridge?
Yes.
TV
most
up
important.
Here.
Get a little Buddhas in there.
Little couch here. But anyway, no, it's a great setup for 2 people, and we're having a ball,
Did you have a ball like Ken Holland was having a ball last night? We're going to lead with an amazing comeback by the Winnipeg Jets. Under 10 minutes, everything seemed to be in control, Mac. And, we've lived it as players where nothing is ever decided until you hear the last second click off the clock and you hear the buzzer. Tell me what Ken Holland is feeling today on this Monday.
Well, 4-1, you're feeling really good because your big boys got it done with 3 points each. I saw Ken Holland in the press box, a shot of him late in the 3rd period. And I thought as I was getting into bed, I don't know what Kenny's making, if it's $4 million or $5 million. I don't know what he's making, but it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it to go through that. I'm telling you, you know what? The 2 people last night there was 3 people I felt for: Kenny Holland, John Shannon, and Mark Spector, who would just be bawling his eyes out. And then when I read his column this morning, he's so mad at the Oilers. But look, how bizarre is that? I'm looking at Paul Maurice in the 2nd period. Can't seem to get it going. He was frustrated a little on the bench. And all of a sudden, just amazing what a goal does to turn a game around. Bad penalty. And then it's lights out. Smith, some screens on Smith. There's so many things you're impressed with. For the Oilers for 3/4 of the game, and for the Jets for the last quarter of the game.
Speck could not throw out choke enough.
Terry Murray line. He even went back to the Terry Murray Philadelphia Lindros Flyers 4-0 to the Red Wings.
It's one thing for a reporter to say it, and it's another thing when your own members of the team use it.
Exactly.
But Mac, Edmonton Oilers fans can wake up today and be so mad at Josh Archibald. And for someone like me who's played in that role, to know that you can go out and do something so foolish and turn something around so quickly. The other guy not sleeping well last night was Josh Archibald, Mac.
Yeah.
4-1, Mac. Everything's in control, and you go take a retaliatory penalty against Stanley. You didn't like the hit on the boards,
no, I know.
or maybe a slash after that, and you chased him down. And you want to add insult to the injury of losing the game? A hearing for him probably won't play.
And the hearing is the least of his problems. This is when post-game the coach calls you out, the media call you out, your players, your teammates are shaking their head. I feel sorry for this kid. He's come in this year. He's been a battler for them. He's been a guy that's helped their third and fourth lines when they didn't have a whole lot of depth. And then to do this and to have this happen at a critical time in a game, talk about a brain cramp. Talk about the coach calling him out. Talk about everything. This kid, and he's not a kid, but he's a young NHL player with experience. It's devastating to him. This could end his days in Edmonton, which is hard to believe, but it could. It could.
And it won't keep them from winning the Stanley Cup, because we quite frankly don't think that they're deep enough, but it could very well be the turning point on why they don't advance to the next round. And people ask, what's the difference of killing a penalty like that or tripping penalty? And I try to explain to people, Mac, it's about the energy of the penalty and what it carries the moment somebody goes into the penalty box for that. It's so much easier. I don't know if people can understand this, but it's so much easier to kill a penalty when you pull down a guy on a breakaway or a 2-on-1 than it is a selfish, needless penalty. And that penalty goes against everything that you fight for during the game, and that's to go through a process that gives you the best chance to win. All of that goes down the tubes with a selfish penalty. That's why those tend to haunt you more than legitimate ones.
Totally. And I mean, how many times we've seen something like that and you get a kill, but for them to score and the energy just completely changed for the Jets and panic set in. This showed, listen, the Oilers panicked, and Tippett decides not to take a timeout. He decides to go with McDavid's line. This is later on. And he thought he could get through to the TV timeout. Well, maybe he dropped the ball a little bit on this as well, because I know it's McDavid and Draisaitl's line going out, but you've got to do on the bench whatever you can do to change the momentum here. You need a big save. You need a miraculous save. You need all kinds of things going for you when this starts to go south. And man, did it go south.
Oh, man. And the other thing, too, is...
But listen, two things, though. Let's give a little credit. A couple of great plays. What about the Morrissey move at the blue line on the goal off the face-off? I mean, where off the play where he slid, took his time. What about Ehlers' move on the winning goal? I mean, those were great individual plays as well.
Just want to touch on the Morrissey play, Mac. And again, you can be mad at Josh Archibald all you want. Yeah. But then you're talking about losing a face-off.
Totally.
A
couple of them.
You lose face-offs. It's the puck possession. The puck goes back deep. Connor McDavid, which, again, when you talk about bad energy that starts seeping through your team off of a bad penalty, he goes behind the net and whiffs a muffin around the boards, Mac.
Totally. I know. Totally.
And that's not Connor McDavid with confidence.
No.
That's a Connor McDavid that's waiting for more bad things to happen.
Yeah.
And then to compound mistake after mistake, it goes back to Josh Morrissey. The drive-by by Puljujärvi.
Was it caught? Oh, yeah, right.
The drive-by by Puljujärvi, where he is now angling and he's got the inside. And not only does he turn and lose the lane, Mac, he turns his back towards him. Like 101 checking. You that's your point, man. And you do a 360 and you turn your back on him. That's not how you play playoff hockey, and that's not how you win. So as much as you want to point a finger at Josh Archibald, it was a disaster after that penalty.
And good job by the Jets getting a little traffic in front of Smith at critical times in the third period, where they just took his eyesight away a touch, just enough to beat him. Look. And the look on Connor McDavid's face after the game said it all. I mean, how much after 5, 6, 7 years can you take it? This is a 2-1 series today with all kinds of momentum going towards the Oilers if they clean that up at the end of the game. And now they're I mean, seriously, 3-0. It's a hill, man. It's a mountain.
You like the fact the Oilers get to try to fix this, at least start the process of it. 24 hours, Mac. Very seldom do we see back-to-back games in NHL Stanley Cup history, or at least 20 years. You like it? You don't like it? Can they shrug it off that quick?
You know what? I guess it's two ways. I would prefer to go right back after it. I would prefer to go right back after it and hope that they're pissed off enough and they're focused enough and they're so mad that they're going to come out and win a game and take it home. But I'm telling you, it's really weird. I remember we had Boston 3-0 and we lost 3-1 and we're going back to Boston. And I'm thinking, geez, if they win this, it's 3-2, then we're going home. And all of a sudden it's 3-2 and there's pressure on us again. Because if it goes 3-3, we're going back to Boston for game 7. And I'm thinking, because you look ahead, you keep looking ahead, and you're nervous. So if I'm the Oilers, I want to go right back at it tonight and have my guys as focused as possible.
And the juice that Nick Ehlers gave the Winnipeg Jets to come off a separated shoulder, to step in like that. Nick Ehlers, I've said it all along, MVP for the Winnipeg Jets, and they've got some talent there. But Mac, he's really taken his game to another level. I never was a huge Nick Ehlers fan. I'd watch him wind it up through the neutral zone, and didn't really understand the give and go too well. Turned the puck over at bad times, but that's been cleaned up so much in his game.
Well, it's funny. I remember watching him in Halifax with the Mooseheads, and this kid was an amazing talent. This guy was a highly, highly regarded guy. And he stumbled a little bit early on. And now to hear Blake Wheeler post-game talking about what Ehlers means to their team. This is Blake Wheeler, the captain. He couldn't say enough about Ehlers and what he brings to this team and what he's brought all season. And you're right, slow start to a pro career, but he changes the look of this team because he changes a line. He creates another offensive line for them. And then you look and you say, then you look at that line with Lowry as a third line. And Dubois. I mean, this is not an easy team to play against. I still wasn't sold on their blue line. Hellebuck has backed that up, but full marks to them, boy, full marks to them. And I mean, you can rip the Oilers all you want, but you got to give credit where credit's due. And the Jets have battled, and Hellebuck has had this. I mean, even last night, how many saves did Hellebuck make in that game last night? I mean, they had a ton of shots. Just
needed to make one more over Mike Smith. And Mike Smith's had a hell of a series, Mac. But
imagine how hard that is in his head last night. I watched him go off the ice. I mean, this guy was so pissed off, so pissed off. And you know him better than I do, but attitude-wise. So where does this go? Tippett handled himself pretty well. He's a veteran guy. He's gotta get this group back on track. This is devastating, Nick. This team had too good a year to go down like this. Too good a year to go down like this to a team that won what? One of their last 11 or 12 games, or a couple?
I watched Tippett in his press conference, post-game press conference, and he bit his tongue. Archibald's penalty really bothered him, but he couldn't come out. He didn't want to throw him completely under the bus in his comments.
But he did a little bit.
But he did a little bit.
Yeah, which
I
really, don't blame him.
And he didn't want to throw the team as well, Mac. But
no.
So he chalked it up to a learning experience. But at this point in Connor McDavid's career, does he need any more learning lessons?
This reminds me of when I was in the Grand Canyon with Jill, and I looked down that goddamn hole, that gorge, and I'm thinking, if I slip off this ain't going to be a learning experience. This is going to be a really bad experience. So I liken it to that, okay? I liken it to that. Some things are learning experiences, and some things, I'm sorry, you're toast.
Well, this is going to change everything for Ken Holland. Is this thing over tonight?
You know what? I watched the Bruins-Washington game. I watched it till it was finished, and you know, I sort of, you know, they were outshot 20-4 in the second period, but they scored a couple of goals. I mean, it's hard to come back from 3-1, from 3-0. It's hard to, as Tippett said, it's really hard to win a playoff time. Ugh. Yeah, it's over, I think. But I mean, look, we've had a few 3-0s, but Connor McDavid, what is up? He's got to come through, and he did last night.
Well, but great ones finish, Mac. They wrap it up with a bow, and they deliver it with a W. And as good of a start that they had, they all found a way to give it away.
You know what? I watched Sidney Crosby play for the last 12, 14 years or whatever he's been in the league, Nick. And this guy was an end-to-end guy. This guy was a superstar, as good as anybody that's ever come along. And how does he score goals at playoff time? How has he figured it out, how he has to play at this time of year to be the guy?
Yeah, it's not about the points this time of year, Mac. It's about 200 feet and doing all the right things in your own zone. And that's where I don't even think Sid will ever be recognized, is how good,
100%.
How strong he has been in his career in the trenches in his own zone.
Yeah, and then think about this. So not an end-to-end rush, but what about the one he tips out of the air in the high slot there?
With one hand.
And the one hand. I mean, that's a play. That's a playoff where it's desperation. I'll do anything to get a scoring chance.
And not only do anything, Mac, but to understand that's every inch on the ice to 100%. find ways to get it done. 100%. And that's where Connor it's tightened up on Connor. And in certain areas of the game, when it's tightened up, don't need offense, don't need end-to-end rushes, but you do need a hard play in your own zone and not the muffin around the boards.
Well, that's 100%. And everybody can make mistakes, but that's the criticalness of every inch of ice that has to be battled for. And every big play, it's like you mentioned, Puljujarvi. It's like Connor. It's like Kulikov. I mean, Kulikov makes a big play. You know, there's guys making big plays all over the ice that it's heart and soul this time of year. Like, I'll never forget going through the dressing room, you know, and I hate to go back to 96 again, but we never had one guy from the second round on. And you remember in your Stanley Cup year, everybody's hurt, everybody's banged up, and everybody still goes out and does whatever they can do to pay a price. It's unbelievable to be in a dressing room this time of year. It really is.
You haven't got any messages on your phones from Visa suggesting that maybe your Visa's been stolen?
American Express just sent me a note. What's going on?
Keep going, Jill. Keep going. We still got a lot of time with Mac on the Real Kyper at noon show. Okay, let's close this this game out and move it on to another one that closed out last night. The Washington Capitals. 4 consecutive losses. I never saw this. I thought it would be a close series. I had actually picked Washington. Shame on me. But Mac, pretty convincing by the Boston Bruins here. And watching that torch passed officially from Chara to Bergeron in the hand shaking line. I didn't see this one coming either.
Well, I got to give a couple people deserve some credit here, and I think you start with Sweeney with picking up Taylor Hall for a second-round pick and whatever. Yeah, I know, they had Buffalo by the short ones, but that was a big, big pickup. But here's the criticalness of this trade is how Krejci has made Taylor Hall a better player. I mean, Krejci has made him a lot better player. He dishes to him, but he also defends, and he gives Taylor Hall some room. Craig Smith's been a good player on the other side. Yeah, so that second line has helped. But last night, what's it come to? Pasternak with they're outshot 20-4. Pasternak makes an unbelievable play on a brain-dead play by the Washington defenseman, allowing him to get to the front of the net on that play. Awful play defensively. Bergeron with a big play in the high slot to put the game at a reach. Look, Marchand, that line. So the top two, Corrali's line, go head-to-head with Ovechkin's line, shift after shift. They took Ovechkin away in the power play. Their penalty killing was spectacular. And finally, a guy that we ripped, and I talked to some Boston people the other day, as a matter of fact, about Tuukka Rask and how upset they were and how upset a lot of people were about last year and the way he's come back and played for this team, Nick.
Yeah.
Full marks to Tuukka Rask.
Full marks. Absolutely. And you're right on Krejci. What he's been able to do is make Taylor Hall a real threat again, or I mean, helped him become a real threat again.
Because he can use his speed, because Krejci can dish and find him and hit him at the right time. And you know what? He's bought in to finally, we talk Connor McDavid, but Taylor Hall's another guy that's lost way too much in his career. And he's got to be excited. He's got to be excited to have a chance to finally advance and have some fun at playoff time.
Well, the other thing that stood out for me last night, again, watching the handshake line, is the decision, Mac. Let's go all the way back in the decision on letting Chara go. And I questioned it. I thought there was still a lot that Chara could offer. And, between Sweeney, Cam Neely, I guess, and Cassidy, they made this commitment to the blue line to just move on.
I know.
And Krug, like you lost Krug and Chara, and I just look at that blue line right now, and they put their balls on the line, Mac, on this one.
Well, I mean,
to go with McAvoy and Grzelcyk and Carlo. And trade for Riley.
What about Tenorti comes in last night and gives them some valuable minutes with Kevin Miller being banged up? Look, it's just Lauzon is out. I question Lauzon, but a lot of players question this move too. A lot of players, and all the way through the year, Chara was when they were stumbling and they couldn't get out of the gate slow. They couldn't score. Stumble a little bit at different times. Chara, it was considered that Chara was a missing element. But you know what? Good on them. They battled through it. They got some character in this team. Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak for a kid, Krejci, McAvoy. Everybody talks about Norris Trophy winners. This guy has become an unbelievable player for them. And you talk about your 200-foot player. That's what McAvoy is right now. But they've got guys that'll pay an unbelievable price. I mean, I watched their penalty killing last night. You know, obviously I was watching Corrali close. I mean, the job they did penalty killing. Here's my big question. Was Ovi injured? That's what I want to know.
Well, let's go down that path with the Washington Capitals. Oldest team, if not the oldest, one of the oldest in the league. Another consecutive first-round exit. Where do you go from here? And does this change anything about what you think about Ovechkin or giving him a contract extension, 5 years, 11 million, 12 million?
No.
Does anything change?
Well, I'll tell you what, you just talked about a Chara, departure with the Bruins. Now, I watched Oshie last night, who's been a really valuable player. They outshoot the Bruins 20-4 in the second period. He coughs up an unbelievable turnover, and the game's done, is over on his turnover. So Oshie, to me, obviously, he's been a terrific player. Ovi wasn't the same last night. I didn't see Backstrom, Kuznetsov.
Well, Kuznetsov's done. He's done.
Like these guys, what has happened to these
I'll
guys?
be shocked if Kuznetsov's back. But
Yeah,
that's not. It's not exactly an easy contract to move. But
No.
they don't. All indications are they want him out.
So and then you got Samsonov with. I mean, look, I watched the one last. A couple of goals last night. You gotta have them. You gotta have them. Anyway, am I right? Is it Samsonov or Varlamov? I get them both mixed up. I think they're the same
Samsonov.
guy.
Samsonov.
I think they're the same. Aren't they the same guy?
Mac, the one thing that was consistent with the Washington Capitals was us questioning where their goaltending would shape up for all of this.
100%. We talked about it.
It didn't disappoint the non-believers, that's for sure.
Well, you know what? It hit me prior to the playoffs. I'm listening to Brian Boucher, who does the NBC, a good color commentator, good feel for the game. Every time I hear Brian Boucher, I think about him playing for me in Columbus. I mean, I'd go and watch practice. This guy they could shoot balloons through him. He couldn't make a save. And I think, is this the same guy that had the 5 shutouts in Phoenix a year ago? But he does a hell of a job on TV. And he, going into the playoffs, really questioned the Caps goaltending. And Brian was 100% right. And I've questioned Colorado's, but I guess I'm wrong on that one. I guess I better phone Brian and see what he thinks of their goaltending.
Boucher.
Anyway, look, it wasn't good enough.
Boucher had the same feeling that Greg Millen had in practice. If I'm quick enough to get out of the way in them in practice, I'm quick enough to stop them in a game.
That was Millsy's. And then he'd go home and play the piano. Great piano player. I don't know if you know that. Greg Millen is a great pianist.
I've worked with Greg Millen for years. I did not know that.
Oh no, he's a pianist. Yeah, he's a great piano player.
Okay. Well, next time
we'll leave it at that.
If I'm in cottage country,
you'll drop in for a song.
We'll do a camp song, Mac.
Okay. Tell them to
Okay.
have the practice pedal on. It's a lot quieter.
All right. What else stood out in your mind? You want to go Tampa, Florida at 3-1, and there was some talk about going to Spencer Knight in Game 3,
Like,
and it was nuts. But now there's the thought that Spencer Knight can come in at 3-1 and save the day. At this point, when you've already juggled Bobrovsky and Drieger like you have, it's not so much of a stretch anymore.
I said at the start of this series that with Joel at 6 million, surely to God he'll pass my record for most wins for Panther coach. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, and it may not happen in the future because I'm reading yesterday he may end up in Seattle. Well, if he goes with a third goalie in this series, he may end up in Seattle. Like, are you kidding me? Bobrovsky,
Who's talking? You really think that's a possibility, Seattle?
Well, there's some chatter. I'd heard this 4 months ago, a rumbling that Quenneville could end up in Seattle. And then I saw it again yesterday written somewhere that he could end up in one of the reasons Seattle haven't moved is maybe Quenneville could end up there. Is there? And I mean, I don't know if it's true. Like I'm telling you, I don't know if it's true. I'm just telling you what I heard. But
the Hartford connection, Mac.
Oh no, big time connection. And you don't think Florida would like to move a chunk of that money and eat a chunk of it? So I don't know that that's going to happen. But this goaltending, this is Bobrovsky. I had a guy from Columbus phone me when Bobrovsky got pulled and said he will never be the same for the rest of the series because his head will be messed up. Well, he comes back, he gets pulled, he comes back and battles, then he gets pulled again. I don't know where you turn. I mean, I don't know where you turn if you're Joel.
We've said it all along that
$10 million goalie.
He's just not a guy that you can trust. That's all.
No.
And it's
set 5 more years or so at $10 million.
Between the ears, it's always been a challenge for this guy.
And that's they got Knight sitting there who's going to be there. I've always said, what the hell did they give Bobrovsky $10 million for 7 years for when they got Knight coming a year or two away? I mean, what do they do moving forward in goal with this guy? Anyhow, so
Mac,
just a tidbit on Joel. It's probably not true.
We like it a lot. I've not heard that one, but it can make a lot of sense for everybody. Financially, I guess if Seattle wants to go down that path and establish a great coach right away.
Because it's funny, I got a call yesterday and they said, Doug, I told you this 4 months ago, this was a possibility. And then the guy phoned me yesterday and he said, Larry Brooks wrote it today. And I said, are you kidding me? He said, I told you that 4 months ago to watch out for that. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
When you get stuff 4 months ago, you're supposed to bring it to the Real Kyper at Noon show.
Well, I'm not an insider. I leave that to you guys. I don't want that reputation. I don't want the headache of being an insider.
Listen, the only thought you've had in the last hour is where's my American Express charge right now,
and that the air conditioning hasn't clicked on. I left it running. I left the diesel running so that the goddamn air conditioning would click on here. But I think Jill probably set it at 80 before she got out.
She put it in sauna mode because she's pissed off at you already for stopping to do our show.
No. Let's correct. She's not pissed off at me. She's pissed off at you.
I don't like it when Jill's mad at me. I can barely handle it with my own wife. Mac. Preds and Canes. Saros, when you're getting peppered like that, 50 shots a night, is it only a matter of when you break, or can the Preds really do this?
I got to tell you, I had the game on, and it was obviously because it was early. I had it on, and I'm having a hard time watching it. And then I really watched it in overtime. So I have to apologize. I really didn't spend a lot of time, watching the game. I'm having a hard time with it. But now it's a 2-2 series. The Preds are a talented group. We know they're a talented group. But again, you can't lose this series if you're Carolina. You cannot lose this series.
Mac, have you been kind of following the post comments from the coaches with the questionable officiating? Not really something, not really something new, Mac. And you've mastered it. You went through and from watching all the greats over the years, whether it's Scotty Bowman or anyone else, work the officials. But this has gone to another level in terms of post game comments. Well, and I'm really surprised that we haven't seen the league slap down some heavy fines.
I'm serious. I am shocked there hasn't been three fines. And we used to work the supervisors, not the referees, but between games, you always had the supervisor for each series has a supervisor. when I was coaching. And you would work the supervisor because he'd always come along. How are things? What do you think? And then you'd work him over. But to have the conversation that they have said, like Cooper talking about what the referees are saying to him, started with, Carolina with the criticism. Berube, I'm shocked there hasn't been 2 fines for sure and maybe 3.
It's interesting that you say that because it was almost as a last resort that either you or we've seen Brian Burke, our good buddy Berkey in the past, when he went to the podium, it was scripted. It was calculated. The comments about the Sedins and what jersey that they're wearing, I can't tell. All of that was just so methodical.
Yeah.
Now coaches go on the podium and they throw out the ripping of the officials like they're giving away candy at Halloween. And Brindamore is the leader in all of this the last few years.
Oh no, big time. And I can't believe Bettman is sitting there listening to this. And I guarantee you there's been some conversations. I guarantee you there's been conversations. Not sure how much longer, honey. She's got her own.
You think they've been fair warned? You expect it to calm down?
Guaranteed they've been warned. Guaranteed they've been warned. And I would think it'll calm down, but who knows? All
right. Vegas and Minnesota, many running out of gas, or Vegas just going to another level. We can talk about Stone all we want. Alex Tuck has turned himself into a real playoff performer.
He's been like, he's just such a power forward. He's such a power guy, So, it's Stone still is the guy, Theodore, Pietrangelo, but Fleury still is the guy. He's still the guy. And he's a leader. So
too early.
We could have an amazing series here between Vegas and Colorado.
I was just going there.
This could be spectacular. The big line led by McKinnon, the big, Stone, the whole, to me, that is the series I can't wait for.
See, this is why we work so well. That's where I was going. But you got to let me ask you, is it too early? Is it too early to think Colorado and Vegas?
Jill looking at me through the window here with, honey, I'm trying to get off. I'm trying.
We're not teeing up Montreal. Where'd you go?
I just had to open the door for Jill. She's got some few things to put away. Go ahead. We're fine. I'm just finishing up. No, we're just
hi, Jill.
Kippy says hi.
Do we get Jill on camera?
No.
She's like Vera from Cheers, where Norm would always talk about her, but we just never knew if she really existed because we never saw her on camera.
All she said is she's getting over this podcast.
Ask Jill if Montreal will show up in Game 3.
You ask her.
Jill. There she is. We had a Jill sighting. Yes.
Anyway, go ahead. We're just finishing up.
Does Jill think that the Canadians will show up in Game 3? Because Saturday night, it was like invisible time.
You know what it was? It was Austin Matthews just putting on a spectacular performance, coupled with Marner. But to me, he was not going to lose that game. He wasn't going to lose that game. And I got to tell you what, if he plays like that, it will be challenging to stop. They'll be challenging to stop. But Montreal, we said it. This is going to be a war, this series. It's a long way from over. Montreal will play a lot better in the next game. And the next game, to me, is the turning point. Whoever wins the next game probably wins the series.
What did you think of the coach's challenge and Bergevin so animated on TV about the interference by Thornton?
I thought I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Like, we saw a situation in the Washington game yesterday on the goalie interference call with Kuznetsov knocking Rask out. And, they had 22 seconds left in their power play. They made a decision not to call it because they could, Washington couldn't afford to take a penalty there. You've got to read that situation. What is the downside of a very, very marginal call? What's the downside? And the downside is you could be in big trouble. And it ended the game for the Habs for me.
Well, and you almost spent half the period killing penalties, Mac.
Right.
And what's that do to your penalty killer? Shea Weber is sitting there going, I need an excuse to have Matthews and Marner coming at me for another 2 minutes. It was just a horrific challenge.
Keith said after, if you want to play that way, you're going to pay a price. Well, you can play that way if the power play isn't hitting on all cylinders. But for the Leafs to get a couple on the power play, if they get that going, it's going to be a tough series for Montreal because they've got to play them physical. They've got to play them hard, but they can't take a lot of penalties. They just can't. And Sundin, we said, about him being on the point in the power play, he teed that one up with a beautiful shot, but we'll see how it goes. I still say this next game, tonight's game, is a monster. It's a monster of a game.
Sandin comes in again, just a young player, a lot of weight on the shoulders. And then the underlining message is now you need Cole Caulfield for the Montreal Canadiens. You can't score. You need him that badly. Man, that's a ton of pressure on these kids.
It's a ton of pressure on them. But, for me, if I'm Montreal, I get him in there. I do. I get him in there because that's this kid. We've watched him over the years. This guy is as pure a scorer as we've seen come through the ranks at every level. So I would try to get him in there. I really would. And it's, without Drouin there, I mean, I still think there's room to slide him in there and it won't hurt their team.
Okay. I don't want Jill really upset at me. So we'll just finish this off and get your thoughts on Pitt and the Isles, 2-2. Is this anyone's series or is this Sid's series?
For me, it's going to come down to goaltending. It's going to come strictly to goaltending. And Kanjari, we'll be done in a couple minutes, hon.
You're killing me right now.
You're
doing that on purpose.
It's going to come down to Jari and the Islanders' goaltending. That's what it's going to come down to. The Islanders' veteran blue line is pretty solid. I think the Islanders win this series, Nick. I think the Islanders win this series. And okay. I'm not sure why I'm saying that, but I got a funny feeling the Islanders are going to pull this out.
Okay, I need some passion and emotion out of you to finish this show off. So what's got more passion and emotion than what the heck is going on with Kadri and his decision now to appeal 8 games, Mac? Got to get your thoughts on that.
You know what? I'm a Kadri fan. I love the way he plays. I love the way he played in Toronto most of the time. I love the fact that Colorado got him in a great deal. But this is bad. He crossed the line in Toronto at the playoffs, and he crossed the line the other night. He's got a history. He can appeal till the cows come home. He is toast. Bettman is not going to give him a break because of history. He can go to the next level after that if he wants. He's wasting his time, as far as I'm concerned, because of the history. I hate to say it. He's a big loss to Colorado, a big loss in a series against Vegas. But he's got to smarten up. And that was that. We talk about what it takes for the team. You cannot cross the line like that. And he did.
It's a lot easier to appeal something with 10 or 12 games, but 8, you just wonder if even there's enough time through the process, because you got to go through Gary Bettman. And once you're through with Gary Bettman, then you got to go find an independent arbitrator. He may be through 6 or 8 games by the time this thing's done.
Yeah, and you know, I don't get it. I know how he played. Look, he played his ass off all season and was valuable. He doesn't have to do the crazy things, but he did, and he's going to pay a price for it. And you know what?
How many times?
This is devastating to go against Vegas with him out of the lineup.
How many times in the playoffs, when you're down to critical times, have I heard you on the bench or the players say, "No big hits. We don't need big hits right now. We just need to contain and make sure we don't lose body position, but no big hits."
And we saw it. It's not a big hit, but we saw a similar move last night in Archibald. You don't go there when games are on the line. You finish your check. You do all your body position, angle, block shots, battle for pucks, but you do not cross the line. And you know what?
Yeah.
And here's my concern is I don't really like after McKinnon and you know, Kadri, they're thin. They're thin down the middle. And that, you know, because I've been talking to people in Colorado saying, hey, they really need a third line center this summer. Really need a third line center. But it's a big loss. And you're right. Crossing line is a killer. So we'll see.
Archibald with his hearing at 11:30 Eastern this morning. It's going to be tough for the Edmonton Oilers to come back from this one.
Yep.
Okay, Mac, great RV effort today. I love it. I felt the passion and the emotion all day out of the RV. We got a bit of a tour, and now you and Jill can take off the emergency brake and go anywhere you want.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to get on the show today.
Hey, Kentucky, bluegrass state. Is the grass really blue?
No, it's really green. It's a beautiful state, actually. And like driving down the back roads, the horse farms are unbelievable to see. You know, they're just spectacular mansions with horse farms. I mean, it's a pretty amazing area right around here. Obviously, Lexington. So it's good. Okay, man. Thanks.
Horse farms and playoff hockey.
Oh, how do you beat it?
Go hand in hand. All right, Doug Maclean out of Kentucky. We really appreciate the effort, Mac. Great show today. If you love Mac and his RV, hit the like button, leave the comments. Great start to the week with my good pal, Doug Maclean, coming to you from his RV. All right, Max. Safe travels, pal.
Okay, bud.
All right, Doug Maclean once again, everybody, on this Monday. Hope you enjoyed the show. Looking forward to the games tonight. Enjoy them. First-time watcher, subscribe, and we'll see you Wednesday on the Real Kyper at noon show.